My name is Celeste. I wasn't the rebellious one. I wasn't the reckless one. I was simply the forgotten one. The day my parents handed my sister Amelia the keys to our family company, they didn't just transfer power, they transferred identity. And they erased mine. It happened in the boardroom, not at a party this time, not under chandeliers and polite applause. This was colder, sharper, more official. The executives stood when my father entered. Amelia followed him, glowing with confidence. I sat near the end of the table, technically a board observer, practically invisible. My father cleared his throat. After careful consideration, we have decided that Amelia will assume the role of CEO effective immediately. Applause filled the room. No one looked at me. Not when the contracts were signed, not when champagne was poured, not when my mother leaned close and whispered, "You were never built for this world, Celeste. Be grateful we're not forcing you to fail publicly." That was the moment something inside me went silent. Not shattered, not broken, silent. I resigned 2 weeks later, quietly. No drama, no farewell speech. They thought I was retreating. What they didn't understand was that I was repositioning. Starting over at 29 with no inheritance, no safety net, and a family legacy that publicly labeled you a disappointment is a peculiar kind of humiliation. Investors Googled my last name and saw Amelia's face attached to success, not mine. I pitched anyway. Most said no. Some didn't respond. A few smiled sympathetically, the kind reserved for people chasing impossible things. But I had grown up in a house where love was conditional. Rejection wasn't new. What was new was freedom. I built a supply chain analytics platform from a rented co-working desk and a laptop that overheated if I opened too many tabs. I slept in that office more nights than I'll admit. I negotiated contracts alone. I learned to read financial statements like survival manuals. Meanwhile, Amelia's leadership made headlines. Visionary successor, heir to an empire, the future of strategic manufacturing. Every article felt like a reminder, but I wasn't competing with her. I was building something they didn't see coming. 3 years passed. My company didn't explode overnight. It evolved. Slow contracts, careful scaling, no reckless expansion, no inherited capital, just disciplined growth. Then something interesting happened. Amelia began expanding aggressively. Acquisitions, new divisions, risk layered on risk. Our family company had always been stable, conservative, predictable. Under Amelia, it became ambitious. And ambition without patience is leverage without oxygen. I noticed the cracks first in quarterly reports. Margins thinning, debt rising. The market noticed 6 months later. Stock dipped. Analysts questioned strategy. Inside sources whispered about liquidity pressure. That's when my CFO walked into my office and said something that changed everything. If they don't stabilize, they'll have to sell assets. I stared at the skyline outside my window. Sell assets. I didn't say it out loud at first, but the idea had already formed. What if I didn't just compete with the company that replaced me? What if I bought it? Acquiring a legacy corporation isn't emotional, it's strategic. You don't storm the gates, you buy shares quietly, through intermediaries, through funds, through timing. Over the next 9 months, my legal team executed one of the most careful financial maneuvers of my life. We acquired minority stakes first, then larger blocks when Canic lowered prices, then controlling interests through a structured buyout when debt pressure cornered the board. They never saw my name, not until the final meeting. The emergency board session was tense. Amelia looked exhausted. My father looked older. My mother's composure had thinned around the edges. The lead attorney cleared his throat. The majority acquisition has been completed. Silence. My father leaned forward. By who? The doors opened, and I walked in. No dramatic music, no applause, just the quiet sound of heels on polished wood. Amelia's face drained of color. My father's jaw tightened. My mother blinked once, slowly. You? My father said. Not angry, not proud, just disoriented. Yes, I replied calmly. The forgotten daughter, the one not built for this world, now owns the world they built. The room felt smaller than I remembered. My father stood. This is absurd. You don't have the capital. I didn't, I said evenly. I built it. The board members avoided eye contact. They understood numbers, and the numbers were clear. I wasn't there to humiliate them. I wasn't there for revenge. I was there because the company deserved disciplined leadership, and because power responds only to leverage. Amelia finally spoke. You planned this? For a year, I answered. She let out a hollow laugh. You've been waiting for us to fall. No, I said quietly. I've been building so I wouldn't. That was the difference. Legally, I had every right to restructure leadership, but I didn't fire Amelia. I reassigned her. Chief Innovation Officer. Supervised. Accountable. My father was offered an advisory role. My mother received nothing but a polite acknowledgement. Control had shifted, but I wasn't cruel, because cruelty is insecurity in disguise, and I no longer needed disguise. Weeks later, financial media broke the story. Estranged daughter acquires family empire. Power reversal in industrial dynasty. Headlines tried to frame it as drama. They didn't understand. This wasn't revenge. It was correction. At the first shareholders' address under my leadership, I stood at the podium where Amelia once stood. The same room, the same crystal lights. But this time, I wasn't invisible. I believe in sustainable growth, not expansion for applause, not risk for ego. Value is built, not inherited. I didn't look at my parents when I said it. I didn't need to. After the meeting, my father approached me alone. For the first time in my life, he looked uncertain. How did we misjudge you so completely? He asked. It wasn't an apology, but it was close. You didn't misjudge me, I replied softly. You measured me by the wrong metric. Success had always been currency in our home, but they only respected visible wealth. They never saw resilience, never valued endurance, never understood patience, until it owned them. People think revenge is explosive. It isn't. It's quiet, disciplined, patient. It's waking up every day and building when no one believes you can. It's buying back the table you were excluded from, not to flip it, but to sit at its head. I was once removed from the will. Now I control the legacy. Not because I needed their validation, but because I stopped needing it. And when you no longer crave approval, you become unstoppable. If this story reminds you that being underestimated is sometimes the greatest advantage of all, then remember this. The forgotten daughter isn't powerless. She's observing, learning, building, and one day she might own the company that forgot her.